if you close your eyes.
Back to the Future Part 2. So the story of Back to the Future Part 2 is the story of Marty McFly and Doc. They go into the future because Doc finds out that something horrible is going to happen to Marty's kids in the future. So they go into the future to try and fix it, but unfortunately someone changes the past while Marty and Doc are in the future, so now Marty and Doc have to try and fix it because the present then gets changed, the future then gets changed, so then they have to go to the past to get things changed. And I have to say, I actually did like that story. I thought the story in itself of the whole, you change something in the past and then it affects the present and then it affects the future, so you have to go back to the point of origin to change it. We have already seen it in Back to the Future Part 1, but we only saw a tiny glimpse of what could happen in the present. We've never seen the whole idea of what could happen in the present. And it's fair to say it does take a really dark turn in the present, and I love the idea that you can't go into the future to change it because things have already changed. You've altered the timeline. You have to go back to the point of origin to try and change it, and I did like that idea. So I'm going to break this movie down for you because I feel like this movie can be separated into 3 acts because you've got the future, then you've got the present, then you've got the past. So there's 3 acts to talk about in this movie, and obviously the first act is in the future, which is, fair to say, absolutely hilarious. I mean, look, I don't mind the optimism of what Robert Zemeckis and the writers thought about what was going to be happening in 2015, especially when you're making it in 1989. But it's the fact that I watched this movie a week ago, so I have no idea what I was going to expect, so I'm watching it right then and there. I know exactly what's happened in the future, so watching what they thought was going to happen was just absolutely hilarious. Let me just give you a few examples of what they thought was going to be happening in the future, okay? Hover vehicles. Right. Auto-tieable shoes. Come on. Fine. Auto-sizable jackets. Oh. Bit too big. But don't worry. No, what? This isn't what it's supposed to do. Along with that, dryers in their jackets. Okay, I'm pretty cold now. Yeah, this is really cold. Come on! Great. Video games with no hands. Well, come on. This world sucks. And the worst of all, Jaws 19. It's amazing, I thought that would be pretty nailed on. I mean, yeah, Jaws has been getting ridiculous with his sequels, so yeah, fair play to them on that one. But I've only scraped the surface of what they thought was going to be happening in the future. They've also got AI technology, the clothes look a bit strange, they had holograms as well. I mean, it's just a bit weird, but it's also the fact that they still also use payphones. That was quite funny. I mean, they did have phones attached to the televisions as well, but there are still payphones people use, but that's hilarious. Now look, it is easy to criticise it from my standpoint that I can just judge what they thought was going to be happening in the future, because I know, obviously. But it's just the fact that the way that they made the future look was just so cheesy and just really weird. Like when Marty goes into the restaurant and then there's that TV that comes down and it's got them famous people on the screen talking to him, but the dubbing is just really, really strange. Like, it was a really scary, weird future. That's one of the coolest things I loved about Back to the Future, is the fact that the past looks so realistic, so I bought it. Whereas in this one, the future just looks so far unbelievable that I can't take it seriously enough. And it wasn't even just how the future looked, but it was also the acting as well in this movie. Seriously, the people who played the futuristic version of themselves, like Marty playing the future version of himself, and there was the future Biff as well, for some reason they were just really, really strange. I don't know why they acted in such a strange way. You know, whoever Biff in the future's called, he was always really, really loud, and Marty was always really, really awkward, but I don't know, it was just a very weird way of portraying themselves in the future. I don't know why they did that. However, the second act of the movie, which is set in the present that's been changed, I actually thought was kind of interesting, because it took a really dark turn. You know, it's interesting to see just how much you can screw up the past to then change the present in such a way. It's a really scary way of looking at it, and I actually did kind of like that approach. However, the third act, which is set in the past again, and I've actually got a bit of a complaint about the chase scene as well, is the fact that I've already seen it before. I've already seen it. I mean, this is why I don't really think you need more Back to the Future movies, is because Back to the Future Part 2, for nearly a third or maybe more of this movie, is set in a period which I've already seen before. You know, the chase sequence in the first act, you know, where he's on a hoverboard this time, you know, I've already seen it before. It's just got futuristic things. I kind of want to see something different, not the same thing over and over again. And especially in the third act, you pretty much get exactly what you saw in the first movie, but in a different perspective. I mean, I'm here to watch a different movie, not the same movie over and over again. And I'm sorry, but in the first Back to the Future movie, I felt really sorry for Marty. You know, he was in a really awkward position, an awkward situation that he himself had to figure out how to get out of. Which is why I love Back to the Future. I felt sympathetic for his character. But in the second and in the third movie, I just really didn't care about him, especially when it comes to the fact of him being called Chicken. I mean, what the hell is that all about? I wasn't there just going, "Oh, you can't say that." Seriously, I was just sitting there just going, really? You're gonna get angry just for being called Chicken? I mean, seriously? There are a lot more harsh words he could have called you, Marty. A lot more harsh. So in the end, I'd say the first act was pretty shitty, the second act was okay, it was actually alright for me, and the third act was just a waste of my time, really. But what really made it a waste of my time was the ending. Oh, for God's sake. I don't understand the ending whatsoever, because it's the fact that Doc disappears and he goes into 1885, and so in 1885 he hands a letter over to the government, I'm assuming, with strict instructions saying, okay, in 1955, which is 70 years ahead, I want you to hand this letter over to a person that doesn't exist, to a street that doesn't exist yet, at this precise time, and hopefully they'll just be there. I'm sorry, but I am not buying that for a single second. I'm sorry, but there's no way the government would do that whatsoever. I'm not buying it. I'm just not. Guys, in the end, Back to the Future Part 2 was an interesting attempt at a story, but its execution in terms of the world that you're being presented with was just either really shitty or kind of good with the darkness, or just really, really a waste of my time. Because that's exactly what Back to the Future Part 2 is. It is a waste of your time because you've already seen it before. I don't want to see it again. So I've got a bit of a quick confession to make, guys. The DVD that I was trying to buy at my local DVD shop, I unfortunately couldn't get the DVD separately. I had to buy it in like a trilogy bundle. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to do my rating when I do the Back to the Future Part 3 video, which I'm going to leave a link down in the description because it is going to be straight after this video. So they will come out back to back. But if you want to see the rating of Back to the Future Part 2, then watch my Back to the Future Part 3 episode. So guys, I'm actually going to see you very soon. I hope to see you there.